it on? All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. My name is Becky Booker, and I'm one of the vice chairs of the course I can class here in the 7th district. And I'd like to start our evening by thanking the Course I County Administrative Office and the Daily and IT teams for their wonderful help and helping us use this room this evening. We're delighted to welcome our audience this evening for your last spending of your time on a Friday night to learn more about the Democrats running against the current incumbent Congressman Rich Cormier. Four people have decided to run. Each has experience that lends to being an effective moderator for our district. But I'm going to kick this evening off with a quick review of the ever-changing nature of this district and a little bit of civics 101. So if you can ask for a while, maybe you'll go like this, maybe you'll take it next. You recall that members of Congress serve at the federal level. So currently, District 7, Rich McCormick is our U.S. Congressman. And Congressperson's responsibility is to serve with the security resources for the district and craft national legislation and be the link between Washington D.C. and their local community. So geographically, District 7 includes portions of a lot of the Northland metro area, including Alpharetta, Tony, Columbia, Dawsonville, Johns Creek, Wilton Rock, Sandy Springs, and kind of like that long Amazon. The district also covers parts of Cherokee, Fulton, all counties, and all of Dawson, Forsyth, and Logan. So you might also recall that in 2020, Carol Bordeaux won 7th district seat, which was the only flip of a Republican seat in the country that year. And also that year, District 5 won 6th district. So there were 2 new seats in Congress. And while we celebrated those wins, Republicans started to think, okay, what can we do about that? And they began redistricting following 2020 census. They significantly redrew the 6th district in December 2021, and then again 2 years later due to a federal court order. The 2021 map made the district much more conservative, which enabled Rich McCormick to win in 2022. and created a new, heavily democratic, black majority district in the Atlanta suburbs that can stick to district and position ahead of them. And in 2024, that newly redrawn District 6 was one of the most anticipated races. It was a majority black district with Democratic primary that featured 3 elected officials who were all black women. So Richard McCormick switched the district to run in what had become a heavily Republican 7th district. He won the 7th district race, and since then has done his best to actively support current administration's actions. So the fact that 4 people who decided to run, this tells you how his constituents feel about performance in his role. So the next slide informs our debate for the evening. The housekeeping, please obviously keep talking during the program, please keep the phone silent. You're free to take videos and photos, so that people don't review what I'm doing. And the restroom is right out the back to the left. And when the program is finished, please, we're going to be on to meet some of our local candidates and these candidates as well in lobby. And we're looking to have several of our local candidates. Tables outside, we can speak to them as well. And now I'm going to give it over to Lana, our chair.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm Colonel Diaz, and your chair for the life of the arrest. This is exciting, isn't it? Are you all fired up now?
Yes.
I heard one now, yes.
Yes.
So,
Get closer to the mic.
there's also feedback, and this is for the candidates and the moderators, the feedback that you see online that is the recording of Zoom, so please take my need. So, I want to start off by thanking Melissa Kling, the Congressional Chair, who could not be here tonight. She had to be housed down for the death of the immediate family. Please keep Melissa and her family in your thoughts and prayers. This entire event was an engine plan and outlined by the just carrying on motion. Thank you, Melissa. My job tonight here is to introduce the moderators and the candidates to you. And as I was thinking about it this morning, I was wondering about the origins of the debate. So the activity of the debate relates to origin back to thousands of years, like 1820s, the early years of debate, and countries of India, Greece, China, all of them have various forms of debates. The idea behind debates is that scholars and politicians engage in debates was to surface the best ideas. It was less about the argument, but more about bringing out the best ideas and the best vision for the future. And that is what we hope to accomplish here tonight. And it is super exciting for me that this is happening here at the site company. We are thrilled to host it here on behalf of the Congressional Democrats. As Becky mentioned, that 2020 we had filled the city. This was really filled the nation. And the response was back in Japan and all the school for US Congress and chatting 62,000 voters here at the site company. So it's super exciting that we have 4 candidates that stepped up because we now live in an environment where people who don't show up to debates, people who don't engage with their constituents, people who listen to public meeting. Right? So we have 4 candidates here who stepped up. And I want to thank all the candidates who have stepped up around this cycle because these candidates give us hope, they give us direction, and they give us strength. Right? So I want to introduce our very accomplished moderators here tonight. Start off with Dante Carter. Dante is a communication strategist, business owner, and a community leader from Shaping Narrative that I in that. As the founder of Card Media Group, his work on high-profile cases and political campaigns helping leaders communicate clarity and purpose. He serves as the second vice chair of the 7th Congressional District of Georgia at 2020, where he helps lead organizing and messaging efforts across the region. His work on the Moderator case is now being studied as a model for justice and communications. Beyond politics, Dante is committed to mentoring young men and building stronger communities. A husband and father, he leads with a simple mindset: do the work, build bridges, and leave it better than any founder. Our second moderator for tonight is Cassandra John. Cassandra is a devoted community leader, ordained minister, certified life coach, and advocate for civic engagement, whose life is grounded in faith, service, and purposeful leadership. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Biblical Education and currently serves as the regional chair of the North Fulton County Democrats, but also holding a post on the Fulton County Democratic Party Committee. In these roles, she works to engage voters, strengthen grassroots organizing, and support democratic leadership throughout the region. Her commitment to public service began with a historic election in 2005 as the first African American elected at large to the DeKalb County School Board, where she also served multiple terms as chair, championing equity, transparency, and community voice. Beyond public office, Cassandra is the owner of Who Bring LLC, and a dedicated community builder who brings compassion, integrity, and real-world experience to every role she serves. From mentoring emerging leaders to leading local initiatives such as Capitals for Hope, she is passionate about building stronger, more inclusive communities. A proud member of the NAACP and the National Council of Negro Women, and an alumna of Leadership Counseling and Leadership DeKalb, Cassandra believes leadership is rooted in service, collaboration, and creating opportunities for others. She lives in Congressional, Georgia, with her husband Kevin and their beloved fur baby Case. All right, now we have 4 candidates, and I will read out the bio of each candidate one by one. So our first candidate is Tony Cusi. Tony is an immigration and defense attorney. He is a 3 times combat deployed veteran, the recipient of 3 air medals, a graduate of US Naval Academy, naval aviator who flew F-18 Super Hornets, and served as a US Navy liaison and entered the Royal Australian Air Force. Welcome, Tony. Next, we have Larry Hong. Larry is an EPA scientist and a hydrologist. He served 21 plus years at the Environmental Protection Agency, fighting to protect jobs, water, land, and public trust. Projects that he supported involved water quality, nuclear facilities, and major federal infrastructure. He worked alongside university holders, often stepping in as a mediator when disputes threatened livelihoods for communities. Welcome, Larry. Next candidate is Case Norton. Case is a Union Camera technician, an author, a small business owner. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Cinema and Television from California State University in Aldrich. He has working class roots with the parent of a neurodivergent child. He is a lifetime member of the Digital Cinema Society and an active voting member of the Emmys. Welcome, Case. Next, we have Jason Turner. Jason is a Georgia native. He is a PhD candidate at Stanford University and also a graduate of the University of Michigan and the Harvard University. He is also a member of the Harvard University Board of Overseers. He previously served as a management and program analyst in the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Office of Inspector General. I will now request each candidate to provide a 1-minute introduction.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. My name is Tony Kaczynski. I'm a Democrat running for the 7th Congressional District, and I'm going to beat Rich McCormick in November. A little bit about me is I'm a husband, I'm a father, I've got my daughter out here, my son's at baseball practice at OC Park right now, or else he'd be here too. As it mentioned in my biography, I went to the United States Naval Academy. I grew up here in LaGrange, Georgia, but went to Annapolis to attend the Naval Academy. After that, I went and I flew F-18s for 10 years, 3 combat deployments before moving back here, going to law school, and I worked with my mom and my wife here. We have a small immigration law firm here in Metro Atlanta. It's important to us to help our community. That's why I got into this race, and I look forward to being able to carry forward this representation to our district. Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, I'm Larry Long. I'm Larry Long. I'm the son of a truck driver. Can't hear it? Okay. Hi, I'm Larry Long. I'm the son of a truck driver. I was born into a middle-class Baptist family. In my senior year of high school, my dad had an industrial accident and we found ourselves homeless. And so I had to go to work. So I didn't finish high school. I have a GED. I went on to get a bachelor's degree, a master's in hydrology from the University of Arizona, a law degree from Concord Law School in California, and a master's in dispute resolution, which is mediation, at Creighton School of Law. I worked for the EPA for 21 years. I started my career in Kansas City and went from there to Washington, D.C., where I worked on legislation and drafting rules. And then the last 16 years I spent in Atlanta, Region 4, as the mining expert and nuclear and civil works senior official.
Alright, so I'm not an active member of it because I actually haven't changed. I'm a former voting member, so that was fun. But anyway, we need a government that works for us, and we're not seeing it. We need a representative that shows up, and we're not seeing it. So my name is Casey Norton. I'm a husband, I'm a father of two, and for the last almost 20 years, I've been a camera assistant and a production assistant as well in the film and television industry, working alongside thousands of other crew members. I've seen private equity gut our industry and other industries as well, shipping good American jobs overseas, and I'm ready to fight for the working class because we don't have the representation in Congress that we deserve. Over 60% of the American labor force are working class, meanwhile only 2% of Congress come from that. So we see laws that are kicked down the line, we see laws that don't work for everyday people, and I'm running because the struggles of people who work for a living are rarely heard in the halls of Congress, and it's about damn time they have one.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason Toei and I'm excited to be running to be your next representative. Service has always been something that's been passed down in my family, whether it's farmers, union leaders, or service members. And growing up in County, Georgia, though it was pretty tough for us. I remember at times sitting in the house with sweltering heat. I remember oftentimes not having food. I remember times being homeless, whether it was for several years, and at times my church really becoming a refuge. And that was really important because as I got older and I took my mission trip out to Kenya, that's when I found my love for environmental science. And from then and that day forward, I decided that I wanted to work for folks and really work to improve the lives of others. So I dedicated my life to service, specifically in environmental protection and public health, and just overall working to produce more equity and equality across this country. So I'm running to really help do that for us in this district, and I appreciate the time that I'll have today to talk about that.
Thank you all. So it's a short time, and I'm going to hand it off to Dante to take it over.
Awesome, thank you. Can you hear me? Can you
Yeah.
hear me? Awesome, thank you. So the rapid fire segment is straightforward. I'll ask a question to all candidates and they will answer yes or no with the paddles they have here. Can you all raise the paddles so you can see them? We're going to keep it quick and simple. And this will give the audience a quick view of the candidate's take on major issues.
Can you get closer to the mic?
This is there.
It's just about it.
Okay. How's this? Okay. I'm sorry. So, our first question. Do you support the current administration's tariff policy? Yes. We got some people here. Do you support raising the Do you support federal rent stabilization? I'm sorry, my apologies. Do you support federal rent stabilization measures? Awesome, awesome. Do you support Medicare for all?
Medicare for all.
Do you support Georgia Medicaid expansion? Do you support? Do you support? All right, y'all. I appreciate the passion. Just give me a second. Give me a second. Okay, we answered that one. Do you support increased funding for border security? Getting a good idea where everybody is. This is good. This is good. I'm sorry. Do you support sanctuary city policies? All right. That's good. Do you believe climate change is a national security threat? Do you support rejoining? Thank you. Do you support natural gas development on federal lands? Do you support universal background checks? Do you support a federal assault weapons ban? Do you support red flag laws? Do you support term limits for members of Congress? Do you support abolishing electoral college? Do you support expanding the Supreme Court? Do you support establishing national standards for policing practices such as use of force, training, and accountability? Do you support making Election Day a federal holiday? Do you support ranked choice voting in federal elections? Do you support? Okay, we just read that one. Awesome. Well, we will turn it over to my co-moderator here, Cassandra Littlejohn.
So you see, don't you got to have all the fun. Now here comes the tough questions where you don't get to use your paddle. You have to use your words.
I might get turned on you.
And the first question, for every I'm going to ask if they would turn up the microphone because I'm speaking directly into it. Can you hear me better now? Okay, let's see if I can use my big girl voice. How about that? All right. Thank you for letting me know. We certainly want to make sure everyone hears the questions and the answers. So, for every candidate, in 60 seconds, why do you believe you are the best candidate to beat Rich McCormick? Now, here are the guidelines for the open-ended questions. 3 questions will be directed to each of you. 2 at the start and 1 at the end. You will have 2 minutes to reply. Then you will each be asked 1 question directly, specifically to you. You will have 2 minutes to reply. The other 3 candidates may comment on your reply if they wish, and you will have 1 minute. Do you need me to repeat that? Perfect. So, the first question goes to, well, let me just say this too. If you are the candidate answering the question, you will have 1 minute to close that question. Let's begin. The first 2 questions you will all answer. Then remember, we will ask you your individual question. Question number 1 again. What makes you the best candidate to defeat Rich McCormick? Mr. Kaczynski.
Thank you so much. I think this is the most important question that's out there right now, because I think each one of us on this stage agrees with one thing. The representation that we have in Washington is absolutely atrocious, and that is what has pushed us all into this race. So what brings me to this table is the fact that I believe that I am truly the best candidate to win this race. I have a military background. I spent time in public service. In fact, my life has been dedicated to public service. I learned that from my mother, who's sitting right in the middle here. She was a career public defender in our small town in LaGrange, Georgia. So I grew up understanding what it meant to help folks around us. So going into the military, I spent 10 years serving this country, and I've worked with allies across the world. I spent 3 years embedded with the Australian Air Force. I've built friendships that will last a lifetime. And that is a large part of what pushed me into this race, but a large part of what makes me a great candidate, I believe, against Rich McCormick. This isn't something hypothetical or something I read in a book. This is something that I've lived my whole life while I was in the military. Beyond that, I got out and I went to law school. And I've spent the next part of my career building a law firm here that's dedicated to helping others in this community. And I think that experience gives me the knowledge and the background that is going to be able to go up to Washington and make a meaningful difference. But I think the most important thing, if you look at my candidacy about how we're going to beat Rich McCormick in November, is that we have built a coalition around us, and we have the support of our community around us that is pushing us up. And when November comes around, I promise each and every one of us are going to be dancing in the street, because Rich McCormick's going to be out of a job. Because I am the candidate that has the background, that has the resume, and that has the fire in his belly right now that's going to knock Rich McCormick out of a job.
Mr. Long?
I actually worked in D.C. drafting rules and working with the Senate. I worked on parts of the U.S. legislation. So I've been there. I know what's going on. I had at least 6 draft bills that I wanted to raise when I first came to D.C. You know, everything from balancing the budget, but not on the back of the taxpayers, to making sure that we don't do shutdowns anymore. We have to come to some kind of agreement where we have a continuing CR. I spent the last 16 years wondering whether after September 30th if I was going to get a check. And right now, a lot of federal employees are not being paid. So we need to stop this power grab. I am a mediator and I study the power dynamics of disputes, and I have the ability, the wisdom, and the knowledge to champion everything that we need to do for this district. I can be defined by 3 words: direct, defiant, and done. I am direct, and I will stand up for all your constitutional and environmental rights. I am defiant. I will not pass legislation that allows them to pass bills that are our social program, our social safety net. And I am just done with wannabe king that is drunk on power and his codependent, McCormick. So I will also be McCormick.
I feel I am the most qualified for this position because I understand what so many American families are feeling. I understand the financial squeeze. I understand the housing crisis. I understand losing jobs to overseas to corporate consolidation, private equity. I understand losing health care. I understand being priced out completely of health care. I get what people are going through, and that's that fire in my belly that, as a working father of 2, I don't want to see their future stripped from them. I want to see a better future for them, for all working class people, and for all Americans. Thank you.
been working in and building up multiracial, intergenerational coalitions. I started with a lot of community organizing I did at the University of Michigan. So we talked about Congress where we were drafting letters and lobbying them about protecting the environment, protecting abortion access, protecting education. And I continued that as I went through my studies. And as I studied, and probably studied too long, but in that time, it really got me up to speed on all the laws and regulations. And I took that when I worked at the EPA, working in the Inspector General's office, specifically rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse in the federal government. So at the EPA, we do that in water programs, and that's something that as we say and move forward in Congress, that is in growth, because there's been a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse in this government. I took that organizing spirit as I was recruited to run for the Board of Overseers. So I was in 2019. Board of Overseers is one of the university's governing boards at Harvard. Mind you, the Board of Overseers is one of the oldest governance charters. Actually, I believe it is the oldest governance charter in the Western Hemisphere. I was the youngest elected of all time. I went to get the university to divest from fossil fuels. They did win in Europe, me being elected. And we championed climate education, which they then created a $200 million climate institute within 2 years. All that to say, over the last several years, I've been working with and participating with the United Nations yearly as I go to their climate needs, building up my diplomacy across the world and each of these needs. I've been a humanitarian, I've been a public health practitioner, I've been an environmentalist, and I've been a vet. I'm sitting here running because I believe I can combine my experiences and make a great representative for you. And one thing that I want to say is that I'm a good listener, and as I've been running through this district, I will promise to listen to the needs and let you be heard. Thank you.
For all of our candidates, North Atlanta suburbs are experiencing rapid growth, rising housing costs, and traffic congestion. What federal legislation would you champion on day one to address affordability for working families in this district? Mr. Kaminsky.
Excellent. Well, this is one of our top priorities. We have three major priorities, and this is number 2 in that. And it's rooted to number 1 for us, and it comes down to corruption. Corruption right now is running rampant, and I think that is one of the major things that's driving the affordability crisis that we see right now. To get to your direct point of what can we do, I think one direct action we need to take is to get private equity out of the housing market. Housing is a basic necessity, and when we allow a market to corner all of that market, it doesn't work. Capitalism doesn't function. Capitalism isn't broken. It's that our government needs to step in and control the corporations that are running out of control. So that is one major piece of legislation that we're looking to champion when we get to Washington. Another issue is on SNAP benefits. I think the big ugly bill that was passed by Trump and his cronies, and Rich McCormick himself, is leading to a food insecurity crisis that is rapidly coming to our community, if it's not already here in a major way. We need to claw back these provisions that they've put into the big ugly bill that identify what they've labeled as fraud in the system. They have misidentified fraud, and they're going to create a food insecurity crisis here because they're going to cut benefits for people across the board here in our country. So we need to step in, and that's one example of what we need to correct in the big ugly bill. But that is a major problem that we see as we've identified that's coming very quickly. Healthcare is the next way. We have 3 major insurance companies that control issuing the drugs, they control the healthcare, they tell you what you need, then they prescribe the drugs, then they sell you the drugs, and they have a middleman in between that that's setting the prices on the drug. We need to break this apart, and this comes down to that same idea that we need to let capitalism work and allow our government to regulate it in a way that works for the people. Thank you.
I'll echo just about everything he said and add to it. I've actually worked with DOT and federal highways on a lot of highway projects. I've worked with DOE and I've worked with USGS and other federal agencies working on large civil projects. One of the main things that you do as a congressman is provide your state Keisha Lethbottom, and she has some excellent ideas for affordable homes, and not only in metro areas,
Mr.
but also
Long,
in
if I
rural
may,
areas.
if we could pause the clock, if you would turn your mic on, please, sir.
It is.
Okay, if you would.
But anyway, my job is to start working with all the state representatives so that we can come up with projects that are site-specific and get funding for them. And I don't know if you know it, but there's thousands of bills introduced in committee every year. Less than 1% actually make it out. So you need to know how to mediate and work with the other side to get your bill out and get funding for it. I have that experience. Passion is great, strategy is even better. And I have a strategy to work with the other side. Thank you.
Can we get the question back up? Sorry, it's in the
Absolutely.
next one.
The question is, North Atlanta suburbs are experiencing rapid growth, rising housing costs, and traffic congestion. What federal legislation would you champion on day one to address affordability for working families in this district?
Thank you. Everything they were going as well. We see corporate greed taking over in every single industry, from the housing market, like Tony said, it should not. It's an everyday. Housing is an everyday need. It is my belief that housing is a human right, just like healthcare is a human right and food is a human right. We should not be commodifying housing so that renting it back to people that are bringing in prices not out of their own communities. That's added to the traffic. When people aren't able to live in their own communities and they have to drive, dozens, if not longer miles. Every single person feels that. So we can create a system that allows people to afford where they live, and they're not going to be priced out. Then that's what we need to do.
Yeah, so day one, I champion the surface transportation reorganization bill. It's passed once every 5 years, and that's working really on our public transit, our rail, our highways, and all that. And it's coming up to be passed this year. So that is day one, and not only day one, but what I'm working on right now. In addition to that, one thing I really am interested in is expanding out different shuttle access. So in Forsyth County, there's not a lot of public transportation, and sometimes, but to get more buy-in, we can get the funds, we also have to have the political will and want. So in my campaign, we're doing various shuttle transportations. Actually, our first one is to a Braves game, where we're going across the district to show about how we can do this. Similar, honestly, in a way to how Moderator has the REACH program. Lastly, also in transportation, is really connecting us to more cities. So really working on, Atlanta has been a rail hub, so the South is all. Really helping potentially add an additional Amtrak system. Because right now we have about, it goes from Atlanta to Gainesville. Can we do one kind of in the middle, possibly coming, but possibly in the city about that? So that would be my transportation. Additionally, with affordability, so again, we've seen rising healthcare premiums with the ACA. First off, really work to bring the subsidies back and expand for healthcare for all, Medicare for all. Really work to have more backup power and solar ads for durable to be reimbursed in Medicare Part B, so that folks when they lose power, they're not left at harm. So that's one of the big things. We talked about SNAP and EBT, which is something really dear to my heart, something that kept me fed and growing up. In Georgia, one thing that this hasn't happened on the state side, but they need to invest about $11 million into staffing so that we can actually work on finding our error rate so that we are not at risk for losing hundreds of millions of dollars. And obviously, we're championing affordable housing, and especially with our future business district project at Oak Point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So the next segment of questions is where we start our individual questions. Remember, you have 2 minutes to reply, and the other 3 candidates will have 1 minute to respond if you wish. And we're going to start in alphabetical order with Tony. Georgia 7 spans some of the fastest growing, most reliable Republican communities in Georgia. What specific outreach would you do to Republican and independent voters And which ones to outreach will you do to Republican and independent voters, and which ones do you believe are persuadable?
This is a fantastic question, because this is how we beat Rich McCormick in November. I would love to say we got the Democrats in this county to do it, but we don't. We need the independents. We need the moderates that are being stepped on by this administration to join us. And how do we do that? I'll say, look at my life, and you'll understand why I think I'm the right person to do that. My mom that's sitting there, she grew up in New York City, and in the middle of my childhood, we moved to LaGrange, Georgia. It's a rural town, kind of like up in our northern district. So all my friends growing up, not all of them, but most of them are Republicans, a heavily Republican area. I then left there and I joined the military. I'm surrounded by mostly Republicans in that service. There's just a lot that tend to join. I then come out and I live in Johns Creek, and I'm surrounded, and I have lots of friends that are Republicans, still the same. With that, I have conversations every single day with these folks, and I understand why they vote the way they do. I understand why they believe the way they do, and I see them changing their mind about Donald Trump. I see them understanding that what we've been saying in this room for the last, 6 years of Trump giving us these lies and this madness, they're starting to understand why we've been talking this way. We need to meet them where they are, have conversations with them, and explain to them that democratic values haven't changed. They're always the same. We want to help our neighbor. I don't care if my neighbor is in John Street or Alpharetta or Dahlonega. I want the middle class to be brought back up. And to do that, we need to invest in them. This trickle-down economic idea has failed us for far too long, and we need to meet them where they are. We don't need to poke them in the eye while we get there, but we need to have real, meaningful conversations with them. I believe my background allows me to have those conversations with those independent and moderate voters, and I believe that's exactly why we're going to beat Rich McCormick in November, because we're able to make those conversations.
From Republicans and independents to come talk to them. The first thing that you do as a mediator is to just start building trust. So I have a lot of trust exercises that I've been working on, and I will go out to them, and I already am going out to them, talking to them, and I'm finding that they have a lot of the same issues that Democrats have. They have been lied to, and they're fed up. That's why I say, we people have had enough. We need to get this seat flipped and just really demonstrate how well we can get everybody into the same group and see what everything is in common. So, what you have in common builds trust, and that's hard. I'm great at trust building. Not so good at speaking at the moment, but that's what we need to do. We start building trust, and you can do that just by talking to them. They're just like us. Thank you.
Mr. Toy?
People are people. So one thing, when I talk to people, it's not about whether you're Republican or Democratic. It's not about whether you're whatever religion you have, where you're from. So I had a great conversation, honestly, when I was actually phone banking. And we just start chatting, and we're chatting up, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? I was talking about my campaign. And it was a great conversation. And actually, the individual then said, he's like, what are you running for? I said, Congress. He said, which district? I said, 7. He said, who's that? I said, Rich McCormick. And he said, what he said was, oh, I love Rich. And I was like, oh, really? He said, oh, I'm actually married. And I said, okay, cool. And I was like, well, sir, what's then actually your biggest concern? And it was fraud, waste, and abuse. And I talked to him and said, well, I worked at the EPA on that. My point here is that people a lot of times call people as Republicans and Democrats. We're just people. Honestly, you have an honest conversation with them. Where our campaign, our first stuff is economic opportunity, energy affordability, internship, and education, health and family stability, and government accountability. Generally, that stuff is very bipartisan, and that's what we're really focused and working on in my campaign. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next question, Mr. Long. Georgia 7
I'm sorry, I have
stands.
2 minutes to respond, I think.
sorry.
I think I get 2 minutes at the end to respond to that.
You're absolutely.
Sorry. I just want to have an opportunity to speak to the people if I could.
1 minute to respond.
This was I thought it was a question, I thought it was a 1 minute question responding to him, correct?
Yes, but he has 1 minute to
Right.
respond at the end.
Yep. So I just get a quick response here. I think this is an important issue here on how we talk to Republicans, and I just had saved this nugget for the end because I wanted to bring it up to you guys. The issues that we're trying to attack, I don't think are partisan issues. So when I'm having conversations about affordability with our neighbors, it's not a Democrat issue. It's a common sense issue. It's an issue where we're trying to make sure that our neighbor and their neighbor are safe and secure. Housing, food, healthcare are things that nobody cares if you have an R or a D next to your name at the end. So this is exactly the conversations and this is the message that we're looking to spread to them. We're not looking to come up there and ruin their lives like this administration has intended to do to Democrats for far too long. We're looking to bring common sense legislation in action. What I believe is that we have a big blue wave that's coming up to Washington, and I'm so excited to be part of that wave. When we get there, we need to demonstrate real leadership. We need to show them that the policies that we support as Democrats are policies that Republicans have always believed in themselves. Housing, food, and healthcare are something that every single American needs and something that every single Democrat has been supporting for so long. So this is exactly how we win this district. We talk to them and explain to them our policies honestly. We're not coming for anything scary. We're not the boogeyman that Donald Trump says we are. We're here to help our community.
Georgia faces rapid development, pressure on green space and water resources. What federal tools would you use to protect quality of life by managing growth?
I grew up in Tucson, and as the last session of Tucson, water is a major issue. You know, the whole West is running out of water. We're also running out of water here because of the drought. And EPA, I work on multiple water resource projects. I have worked, you know, every letter that you can read from me has got something on it about green space. All you gotta do is go in and say, very long, EPA, those letters will pop up. This administration is not allowing current employees to do that. You'll see my own stuff. You'll see my stuff from Region 7, Kansas City, from DC, when we talk about waters in the U.S. And you'll see it here when we did when Trump was president. So a lot of our environmental regulations have been done under this administration. The administration can change the policy, but they cannot change the legislation. That legislation is still there. I will use all and every environmental regulation I possibly can. I'll reach over with the Department of Interior, BLM, and Honor, and all the other agencies I used to work with, and have a wide consortium that we can attack this problem head on and restore those environmental regulations. Thank you.
So I just have a question for that. So regarding green space and water resources, big thing that I keep hearing from constituents and from voters are AI data centers, right? So obviously with space, they take a lot of space, they take a lot of resources. Would you co-sponsor the legislation proposed by Bernie Sanders and the AOC?
I love Bernie Sanders. I would definitely, Bernie's a socialist, but a lot of his stuff makes sense because he's got the voice of the people. Most definitely would support anything like that. The AI centers, these data centers, they're not only taking water and raising your rates, they're not developing the jobs that they say, So the whole thing is a lie, and the whole thing was created by Microsoft. When you went into their new program, where everything is like duplicated, triplicated, and then they put it on the cloud, that's how
Yes, so immediately coming to office, I would support the moratorium on data center development, and with that clause being thoroughly tied to having to actually engage with the community, actually having workforce jobs guarantees, having to have your water resources, and actually expand your wetlands, and actually, as we talked about, actually having 100% full renewable energy and not just having natural gas power generation, so pretty strong on that. In terms of other water resources, we talked somewhat about the waters of the U.S. and specifically in the states. That's about a third of our waters in Georgia are not protected because they are seasonal or intermittent. Basically, that means that they can just get runoffs from agricultural sites, from those sites, and you're just at risk, whether it's nitrates, PFAS, what may happen is contaminants. So I would bring back those protections to protect that other third that has been basically removed. And lastly, about going green space, I think any development we have needs to be mixed use. So as we're building up bigger projects, making sure that we're keeping some space for parks and play, so really having that piece in these community benefit agreements. Thank you.
This comes to me really deeply down to my family. I've got 2 young kids, and what I love about moving out of the city and up to the suburbs where we live in Johns Creek is the green space and the ability to get out and enjoy nature. Us right now, as adults in the room, we need to make sure that we're preserving that for our children. Georgia has that in such a unique way, something that the Northeast doesn't have. We have space. We have beautiful, Atlanta has beautiful forests within a city. It's that exact thing that is rare. If we cut these trees, when we clear cut land, we have to understand that we're losing that. We're not losing that temporarily, we're losing that forever. My town, LaGrange, that I grew up in, we had a little lake. We didn't have Lake Lanier, unfortunately, but we had a lake. It's such a beautiful place to be, and the idea that the scarcity of that resource that we have is something that we need to protect here. The quality of Lake Lanier is something that is going to disappear if we don't actively protect that. The water levels need to be preserved at the level that they are and can be enjoyed by the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
I have 1 minute.
If you would like.
I've actually worked in wetland enforcement and wetland regulatory, and these are very important sites because they're active recharge sites. A lot of our water that we get, it comes from what we call storage, and it's groundwater that seeps back up into the streams. Those are paving streams. I've done a lot of hydrology. I understand the whole process. With the green spaces, they are also active recharge facilities. We actually have recommended the cities, a lot of cities have done it with their mediums where they can recharge stormwater into the aquifer system. This is a major problem. I've had, like I said, passion's a good thing. Experience and strategy is what makes things happen.
Thank you. Georgia has not expanded Medicaid, leaving hundreds of thousands of uninsured. As a federal representative, what leverage would you use to push Georgia Republican legislator and governor towards expansion? Case Norton.
Thank you for that comment. As someone who currently doesn't have health insurance, it's pretty close to home. So one thing I would say is, first off, we're going to take back the governor and make the governor's nation. So this question is sort of like, honestly, we're going to be able to work with them very easily because we're going to put so many LCs, so many states that seats, as well as the governor's nation. Easy to do that.
Thank you for that answer. It's hard not to get excited when you're the moderator, but that was a good answer. Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Toway.
I'll talk to them specifically about the economic cost. So for every person that goes for an inpatient visit, that's thousands of dollars in cost. And if you don't have that covered by insurance, where's that going to? And you can think about who's this cost falling on. Now some people might not actually go to the hospital, they might call sick, might miss work, and sit here we have lost wages, we have lost productivity. So really talking to them about, if you expand Medicaid, you're going to see economic benefits because you're actually going to have healthy workers come in, be more productive, and you're also not going to be putting so much strain onto an already over-resourced healthcare system. So I really leveraged that about the cost aspect of it, and really reward saying that, also the federal government is giving us money, so it's no actual additional input from the state. You just need to accept it.
I have these conversations with Republicans exactly. Why don't you support it? Why? Like, we all need health care. It's not like it's only going to Democrats, so why? And the constant answer I get back is that the system is broken and needs to be fixed before we expand it broader. What they're saying is healthcare is too expensive right now, and if we expand it on the rate that we have right now, that we can't afford it. So I think the answer that I'd look to explain to these Republicans is that we have fixes for these systems. We have to break up the insurance industry driving up the prices. I don't know how many people are on prescription medication, but there's something called a PBM, or a prescription benefit manager. It is a middleman that's sole job is to suck profits out of the system. If you ever call something a middleman, we don't need it. We need to be able to set that as a fiduciary duty that you owe to the patient. Right now, you owe that as a corporate profit.
Tony couldn't be more right. But we need to work with our local officials, and we need to get some of these things on the ballot so that they know that the people, this is the voice of the people, that's telling them, look, if you don't vote for Medicare or Medicaid, you're gone. That's what we need to do. We need to put the pressure on locally. And I will put the pressure on from the federal side, pushing legislation to definitely get Medicaid back into Georgia. And, again, it is just common sense that healthcare is a right. It is not a privilege.
That's what Bernie said.
So as my answer before was a lot shorter, I will explain a little bit. So I agree that healthcare is a human right. No one should go into debt for going to the hospital, for wanting to go to the doctor, for putting something off. They shouldn't get worse. They shouldn't feel worse off. Tony was absolutely correct in talking about middleman insurance. I mean, what they take the majority of the profit, and we have to pay the bill. So if we can get those out and like Larry said, legislate against that, that's what we absolutely need to do, because with these middlemen, they're completely eradicating the middle class, and I will not stand for that.
The next question, cybersecurity threats, ransomware, infrastructure attacks, AI-enabled disinformation are growing. What role should Congress play to protecting both government systems and private sectors' infrastructure? And are current investments sufficient? Mr. Tolley.
No, current investments are not sufficient. I'll start and say, in the past 2 months, my mom, who's a lawyer, had her Social Security account hacked. So someone frauded thousands of dollars. But this wasn't really surprising, because when I worked at the EPA, we were using Internet Explorer during COVID, 7-8 years after it retired. Our systems are not ready. Last week, I went down to the Capitol, not Capitol, but Fulton County Commissioner's office, and I was talking about FLOC and AI. So a system that's very easy to be hacked, and also the surveillance. People are doing that, and people are even saying, hey, here I am. But this is some of the stuff that we are using in for our strong law enforcement, and people are using that. And so what roles does Congress have? Well, one, Congress needs to get better at this, and that's investments. We're in the AI generation. I mean, we talk a lot about data centers and the risks that they pose, and we can say that, tomorrow that we necessarily might not even want to have these. But these things are still going to exist. It's everywhere we are. And what I would do is initially, first off, have regulation first. So initially, Congress was doing that around, especially in the one over bill, and then they pulled it out. But actually have regulation on that. Actually invest in our infrastructure. So actually in the federal level, actually get us up to real systems. So we shouldn't be using 5 to 6-year-old systems. Actually having more workers to actually look for this. So we saw the purge last year with Doge, which really didn't do anything. It just, honestly, I worked in fraud, waste, and abuse, and honestly all they did was just spend a lot of taxpayer dollars to build a worse inefficient system. So actually really bringing more folks into the government to actually watch for these spurts as well, and just be very critical. So that's my first part of my answer. I'd like to hear everyone else.
Thank you. Candidates, would you like to respond?
Absolutely. I think that the United States is not doing enough right now, and it comes down to me as this is a national security threat to us. The United States Navy, as I know some people in this room know, has a whole fleet dedicated to cyber because it is being used as a form of warfare. The Russians and the Chinese have dedicated individuals or dedicated units that are attacking our national security at this level. My information is spread everywhere because I was in the military and they hacked the entire military database to do that. It is a danger to all of us out there. We need to be actively protecting our data to the next level. This AI-enabled information or disinformation is a huge problem. I think all of us can recognize that we had our elections interfered with by misinformation through the internet. That is something that is a giant problem. We should be judged based on our information that we tell you right now, not some AI-generated bot that is telling you what to believe in the background when you go home tonight.
You know, this is a problem when the industry itself says that they should be regulated. So, you look at this, when processes break, and a lot of those processes, governmental processes that do the work with this administration, who ends up paying? You do. Through your taxes, you've got to come back and recover the 600,000 federal employees who were laid off. Who do you think running these processes? Nobody. When you try to go to the government to try to get things done, you know, I just recently started Social Security. And it took me 2 weeks to get an appointment. And 5 seconds into the appointment, said, okay, you got it. So that's just ridiculous. It shows how these processes are breaking down, and it's all because of the tyranny of this administration.
Congress needs to absolutely regulate and legislate for much safer usage of AI. And we've seen, like he was even saying, someone that was identity theft, I believe. And we've also seen instances of folks getting almost like FaceTime or video calls from people. It ends up being completely false. And a lot of folks are falling for it now, unfortunately. So there's no protection showing people that it is fake. People can easily take those watermarks off. We absolutely need to regulate this more because the disinformation that's spreading, especially as it's spread coming from November and beyond, is really going to attack a lot of the way that a lot of people want to vote. And I think that is absolutely interference, and we need to absolutely stick up with that.
I appreciate that we have the opportunity to ask this question, and I'm glad answer that came to me. I feel like too many times we sit here, we were told that AI was something that's really going to bring new jobs and new opportunities. And unfortunately, it has brought a lot of uncertainty and a lot of things. And I'm here to sit here saying that there's no reason to not say and investigate these. There's no reason not to boost up our domestic system. So, as folks said, we have less than national threats, or we're able to monitor them. There's no reason why a 14-year-old should be able, again, to hack into the Social Security or our surveillance systems. And honestly, the one thing I really want to get on and say in this is that a lot of times with this AI, we've embraced real quick all of this, whether it's the robot dogs, the things bots out there. And we've been moving more into a surveillance state without any controls. And that's not okay.
Thank you. To close out this segment, we have one final question, which each candidate will have 60 seconds to answer. What do you want voters in Georgia and Congressional District 7 to know about you that they won't find in a campaign ad? Tell us.
Ooh, I like this. Let's see. I think the truth of what really drives me is my children. I got 2 young kids. My favorite thing in the whole wide world is being at a baseball field or a softball diamond, coaching flag football. I love them to the deepest part of my heart, and that is why I'm in this race. It's a little counterintuitive because I'm running around this district trying to get elected for this race, and I'm missing those games, and it breaks my heart. But I've talked to them individually each time and tried to explain they see the problems in this country. They hear it every day at school, and they're in elementary school. What I hope is that they can see the efforts that their fathers are putting in, and each of us on the stage are putting in, to really contribute to our country, not complain about a problem, but to be there to provide an actual solution so that when we hand this country to them, we're handing them something we're proud of.
I generally don't talk much about my family for personal reasons. I have a daughter, 38, and I have a 2-year-old grandbaby, which is absolutely incredible. My daughter is an attorney. She works for the federal government as well. You're not going to find that in my ads, but you're going to find that I am committed to protecting my family and your family from the tyranny of this administration.
It's going to be hard to find anything that I have publicly stated on social media or wherever. But I came into this race early. We were the first one in this race in September. We were the first one that knew that at the time Rich was going without anyone challenging him. I couldn't let that slide. As someone like Tony has, he has 2 children, I have 2 children as well. I want a better future for them. I want a future where, the Congress people, the representatives, listen to them. They show up for them. And we're not seeing that. We felt all the struggles. We've had eviction notices, we've had car removal notices, we've had everything. We haven't had the luxury of being able to, loan our campaign money or to be able to have certain resources. But what we do have are hundreds of individual contributions, and I'm extremely proud of that. And we have probably the most earned media out of this entire campaign, or out of this entire race combined. And that's something that I hold very dear and near to my heart, because that just shows that people are ready for change, people are ready for something different than the status quo, and we're ready for it.
Well, I'm on time, and I say that since so in my free time, I was listening to everybody and doing a lot of standing, and that is a part that it's hard to arrest everybody in this race, and we're putting ourselves forward and presenting our case to make to run. And one of the things that really brought me is joy. I mean, I love to laugh. I laugh every day. I tell jokes all the time. I speak probably 80% jokes. And one of the biggest things that's really brought this is community involvement, engagement, bringing folks together. And I just wanted to tell you a funny story. I don't know. I won random things, so I love all sports, literally all of them. And I went up against Joey Chestnut. Yes, the hot dog eating man. And I'm a vegetarian, but he's sponsored by Impossible Foods, so I won a contest to a baseball game with him and to eat 100 nuggets. Now I lost and didn't eat 100, I ate 70, I ate 250. But that's something I just want to say is that, honestly, I love fun, I love bringing people together, I love to laugh, and I just want that to be shown.
Please join me again and appreciate all of our candidates for this segment. Larry Long, Case Norton, Jason Tolley, best of luck to each of you. Now I will turn it over back to Dante to cover questions from the audience.
Now it's the fun time. I got 23 questions. We got an engaged group here. Engaged group. So you all have 2 minutes to answer. We're running out of time quick, so the shorter you can make your answers, the better. The first one says, hi, I'm James, I'm 23, I live with my parents, I go to SCAD Atlanta, and I have bipolar disorder. Every day I try not to doom doom scroll, but it's getting harder. The president is out here threatening to annihilate entire civilizations, and I genuinely cannot tell if the entire country is having a mental health crisis, or if it's just me. This is getting a little too much for my brain to handle. So my question is, what are you actually going to do about mental health care in America, and how are you going to fight that against this Trump regime that seems to thrive in chaos and fear?
Where you are, I love you, brother. That's tough to go through, and I totally understand. That is a huge issue in this country. I work, a large part of my legal practice is in the judicial defense. Mental health issues amongst the vulnerable population in this community are such a crisis. We need to invest, not in healthcare generally alone, we need to seriously invest in mental health care because it translates into so many people throughout our community. I don't know anybody in here that hasn't touched somebody that suffered in some sort of mental health crisis or issue. The problem is we have a stigma for far too long for this. It is a medical condition that we recognize and we acknowledge at this point. We need now to invest in the community of people. I'm looking at one out there. I just spoke to her right before she walked in. But therapists that invest in our community, spend the time to help them work through it, find the right medication that gets you stable and comfortable so you can be a productive member that you all want to be and we all want you to be. So I really want this to be a core part of what our healthcare policy is in this country, is that we're able to come back to the table and find these areas in our community that we lack so desperately, and I think mental health care is one of them.
One of the things that you learn in tort law is that you take the victim the way that you find it. And that is something that we have not for a long time. As Tony was talking about, we've ignored mental health for a long time. It needs to be part of our regular medical insurance and covered just like anything else that we have. That is a medical condition. It needs medical professionals to work on it. We've got to quit filling up the jails with people that are on the street because they have mental issues. We need to provide affordable housing for people with therapy so that they can get through. A lot of them, Tony will tell you, are veterans. And they have a lot of issues. My dad had issues from Korea. So I've gone through this, I understand this, and again, it has to be part of our regular healthcare system.
And that's all there is to it.
Everything they've said, I'll echo, and then some. So this is a very personal story for me, actually. So this is also public knowledge. There's a podcast out there that my wife hosted. And a couple of years ago, she was going through a mental health episode. And she crumbled essentially in front of me, and I needed to support her in a way that I didn't know how to support her at the time. I had to triage 2 children that were throwing up, my wife that was about to pass out, and my own financial struggles of just trying to keep the damn house afloat. So, in addition to us needing to expand access to mental health services, we need universal health care because that should just come out of, everyone should have access to it. Because one of the biggest things we see is either financial stress or postpartum depression or PTSD. All these things are very real that people are dealing with. And like they were saying, there's a stigma associated with them. That stigma is lifting lately, but still it is something that people are still having to choose. Do I get help for myself or do I just crumble on my own? And that is something that I will always champion for because I have lived through that. I've seen it with my own eyes. I have to go on a complete overnight deal with that and get my kids to school the next day. And that is something I will always champion for as mental health services.
Appreciate all the answers that have been said in the stories and being vulnerable with them. One thing I would say is invest in our schools. And I'll say this well. So I myself am neurodivergent, and that means I've been privy to a lot of different classrooms and around. And one of the most jarring things I've ever seen in my entire life was seeing a 5- and 6-year-old locked in a closet and for hours. And then the next most jarring thing was when that was me. And I say this because folks, whether you're on the spectrum, whether you have bipolar disorder or whatnot, we haven't been encouraging our schools to actually handle things. Unfortunately, this has enabled things like preschool to prison pipeline. I'm just grateful that I was able to still do my work, because a lot of times I'm even sent to the office without being, because of inaccurate engagements. And we've seen strips to federal funding to our public schools, or moving away to more private systems. And that will not help any child that has a condition. So one of the first things I really want to do is how can we actually bring some funds back into our public schools and actually really strengthen, so provide the teachers with more resources. How can we actually expand more counselors instead of having more police than counselors, which is a thing for across the country to have. How can we destigmatize? To tell people that it's okay to be sad and mad, but you also need to be happy and glad. That is okay. And if someone wants to seek treatment, champion that and be there supportive. During COVID, that was a tough time for everyone. It was a very tough time for me personally, and I'm grateful to make it out from that. And during that time, I did a lot of work looking at social isolation. And this has led to whether it doesn't really matter what sex of gender you are, but the lowest epidemic in this country, as folks have not been able to engage as much, and their own minds seen so much harm. So I really think we must invest, but starting as early into our schools and bring those resources back to education. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We're going to do one question per candidate, see if we can get a lot more of these. And so, Mr. Zidane, how do you ensure you maintain a connection with your constituents?
I think the question is, how do you ensure you sustain a connection with your constituents?
Yes.
This is exactly what Commissioner McCormick doesn't know how to do, right, guys? You hold town halls, and the thing is, he came here and he got a terrible reception that he earned. We gave him exactly what he deserved. But you should be able to listen to that and change the way you're doing it, and be proud that when you come back the next time and say, I heard you. I might not make every decision that you agree with in this room. I might not. But I hope you understand that what I'm trying to do is do what's in the best interest of our community, and I hope to gain your trust over time, and to can make sure we have that connection. It's staying in touch. I think the number one priority of a congressman is constituent services. That's what drove me into this race, reaching out to Rich McCormick, trying to get him the hell with the Georgia Army veteran that got deported. I called him because I thought he cared about this district. I was wrong. I know. Foolish of me to think he'd answer the phone and do something about it. But that can change. That can change in an instant. Holding town halls, answering the phone, having a team. The number one priority I have is having a team of folks in this district that are going to answer your calls and solve the issue that you're complaining about. Whether it's the VA, whether it's having trouble with Social Security, whether it's a problem with what I've said in Congress or voted on, I want to hear it. Good, bad, and ugly. You tell me, and I want to take that in and represent you. You're never going to make everybody happy in this district with every single decision. But what you can do is make sure that every time you do something, you're willing to stand up in front of your community and say, this is why I did it. You might not agree with it, but I did it because I really felt this community would be best served by that decision. And that's a town hall. You say that, and you can disagree with it, but you got to understand that I'm coming from the right place. And that's what I hope I can do, is gain your trust and do that over and over and over again so that you know everything I do is about my community here in Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Zidane. Mr. Long, this election is not just about defeating Trump and MAGA. It's about implementing a truly progressive agenda that the base is demanding. What are your top 3 progressive platforms that you fight for?
My top issue, my top issue is the microwave. My top issue is fiscal responsibility, and that has to do with affordability and everything associated with that, and to reestablish all our social programs, which is Social Security, veterans' rights, environmental regulations, so on. That is what my main interest is. Environmental regulations is the second standard. Malcolm X once said that Plymouth Rock, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock landed on us. Trump landed on us. And if you're tired, the trickle down effect, tired of being trickled on, it's time to get rid of it. Even though that is one thing that we're going to have to do in mass and be very strategic about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Mr. Norton, what three bills do you see yourself sponsoring, co-sponsoring as a representative?
One of them, sorry.
Great question.
One of them is Medicare for all. Absolutely, we need that in this country. Another thing is House Joint Resolution 54, which is no alcohol. That's seeking to get rid of Citizens United. We need to get that one. And the last thing I will do, because it is this is sort of a progressive thing as well, but is the MAID Act, which would legalize and tax cannabis at the federal level, because there is no reason people should be in prison for joy. We should tax this, we should put this for a social system that works for people instead of criminalizing it.
Thank you, Mr. Norton. Mr. Tower, how do you feel about running so much economic policy through the tax code? Would you be in favor of extending the tax deadline to May 15th?
You said
Can you bring the mic?
How do you feel? How do you feel about running so much economic policy through the tax code? Would you be in favor of extending the tax deadline to May 15th?
Yes, I would be in favor of that extension. And I feel like in this country, with taxes, we have a system in place that's been, that's adequately been set up in a sense. We have a lot of folks that might not file, and honestly, we do still have loopholes and whatnot. And I think honestly, as banding until later in the year can actually give folks more time to actually file thorough and accurate taxes, so that we're collecting the actual amount that we need to then be able to do these different services, whether that's education, whether that's healthcare, whether that's environmental protection. So that additional amount really helps with our government accountability and really working on that system. It doesn't overtax our IRS agents, and really can make sure that we get the most out of the system that we have in place to really make sure that we can do it, do the best use with those dollars. And really, like I said, really protecting and making sure our dollars are going to what they are spent and reducing fraud in this country. Thank you.
Mr. Tommy, thank you. Mr. Kazicki, what is your position about education and the destruction of the Department of Education?
Wow. I mean, I don't know how simple it is that the Department of Education is a foundational institution in this country. The idea that we want to dismantle it, I mean, it just doesn't make any logical sense to me. Every single one of us values the children in this country and that need to be educated. We need to have a federal oversight of that. We understand that a lot of education comes down to the state level. But as a federal government, they provide so much value and oversight. They see so many programs to make sure that every state in this union is giving opportunity to the most vulnerable of us, those children. I mean, I mentioned earlier, the 2 young kids that I have, we're so fortunate that we're in a great public school system. Not everybody has that. And the idea that we're going to pull ourselves out of that in an effort to save money, I believe, it seems like the absolute wrong place to save money, if that's what it's for. If it's about corruption, I have no clue how we have these schools being corrupted. I think the problem that comes is this push of this agenda of the MAGA administration that they identify an enemy. In this case, it's the Department of Education, and they go after them so vehemently, and then they get rid of them without anybody in this room getting a say in that. I think they demonize us as Democrats in the same type of way. So I think when we get back up to Washington, I know this blue wave will reinvigorate the Department of Education. We have so many problems and priorities that I believe the department needs to start focusing on solving. Being able to make sure every kid is sitting at a desk with the proper resources in front of them, fed with a full belly, ready to understand what the teacher's teaching, great quality teachers that we have the fortune of in our community here, but they're throughout our country and throughout our district, It's those oversight abilities that the department provides that we need to restore instantly on day one of getting back up to Washington.
Mr. Long, what plans do you have to improve the education system in this district?
Improve the education system.
What plans do you have to improve the education system in this district?
To start with, we need to fully fund our education through our, not only just our property taxes. We need, a long time ago, the colleges, when college tuition went up, was because it was, I used to teach at a junior college. We lost our federal funding, which we call FLEXI. So we got paid so much for each student. We don't get that anymore. We don't get anything. Even junior colleges don't get hardly anything from the federal government anymore. That's why the cost of education has gone up for graduate school and for upper education. It is imperative that we make schools affordable for everybody. I mean, not everybody needs a bachelor's or a master's or a law degree. There's a lot of people that can do very well with a vocational degree. We need to work with our unions, our junior colleges, to train craftsmen. And that we need to get some kind of a funding for that, which we don't have now. And that is one of the things about work on, is to getting that, it's called FTSE. We get it back into the junior colleges so that they can actually teach. Thank you.
Mr. Norton, will you support or sponsor legislation to abolish the federal death penalty?
So actually, I had a voter reach out to me a couple weeks ago around the same regard, and they were talking about they are Catholic and they don't believe in the death penalty. I was raised Catholic myself. I think it's extremely harsh. I would vote for a federal, I would vote to abolish the federal death penalty. I think that there's room for obviously there's folks that rehabilitation is almost off the table for them. But I still believe that we all get this one life on earth. We can all make the best of it regardless of our circumstances. And it doesn't save us any money to put them on death row. In fact, it costs us a lot more. My wife actually did a paper on that. It costs us a ton of money to keep people on federal death row, and I think it's a waste of taxpayer money. It's a cruel punishment. We see oftentimes that folks, after the fact, we find out that they were completely innocent of the crime they were executed for. So I would absolutely do that. Yes.
Mr. Powell, tell us a story about a time you took the unpopular side of an issue. Did you stick to your principles? Tell us how.
That's a good one. So, I said, I'm from Cobb County, Georgia. I've done things from there. It's changed a lot since I've been there, but honestly, I think I was the odd person out a lot of times in our government class. I was there in the 2012 Obama won the election, so basically everything. Also with healthcare, because I feel like that's really the thing. So we talked a lot about, so the Affordable Care Act passed in 2010, so I was around about 14, 15. And I spent most of my life without healthcare as a child. And I'm sitting here in the state, and I mean, maybe we might be able to get some coverage. And they didn't expand and we didn't. And I remember I was sitting on the beach, we're in Alabama, on a trip with some friends, and we were having a conversation about healthcare expansion. And I was pleading with them in the sense that, guys, I've never had this. Everything I'm seeing right now, I'm at a risk of disadvantage. And at the time, there was a lot about, we talk about taxpayer dollars, taxpayer funds, and being efficient. And it took a while because I really had to stand on that, being the only person that was in my church all about healthcare. We talked about the death penalty. We did a nice fun exercise where who supports the death penalty? One would go here. We did the same exercising with access to reproductive rights and abortion, which I also then, I said no to the death penalty and supporting other reproductive rights. And this is back, 2010, 2011, 2012. And I say all that because taking those stands then means that I stand by my word. And I always have. And that's something that I really appreciated from the late great Jimmy Carter. He came in and he said, I'm going to try to work and be here and support you. And through even if the conditions are uncomfortable and positions, I stood by what was belief of the right thing to do and would be able to bring the most benefit and good to others. Thank you.
That's all the time we have, Vice Chair. We'll turn it over to you.
All right, am I loud?
Top right.
How about now? Better? It's not so easy up here. I want to give a huge shout out to these 4 C7 candidates for their leadership. And thank you again to Forsyth County Administration for the use of this meeting room. Thank you to our local candidates and state candidates who are here tonight. I hope you guys will visit with them in the lobby. To the audience, your showing up, your interest and your commitment gives a lot of us hope that we will continue to grow our vote share in this district and that we will win seats. Please remember, advance voting starts on Monday and lasts until Friday, May 15th. There's a weekend voting, May 2nd and 3rd, and Saturday voting on May 9th. And lastly, please, you are most welcome at our monthly Forsyth County Democrats General Meeting, Tuesday, the 28th, at Poster Library at 7 p.m. We're going to have gender candidates for state Supreme Court there. And thank you so much to our volunteers, our team volunteers who made this happen. We really appreciate it. Please come visit with our candidates in the lobby. Thank you, everybody.
Can we get a quick picture with you guys? You said picture, I said I'm here. Yeah, you said you're here. Okay. Zoomed in. 1.
Wait, I want to get in the middle of this answer.
Okay, yeah, let's get, can you and Conan get in there too? Get in there, Conan. All right. You guys want to get in? We coming down? All right.
It's too much floating head.
Too much floating head, yeah. Love it. It's a floating head. It's a floating head.
Hi, Conte, how are you? Nice
Okay.
to see you.
All right.
Graduate. Really?
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Sorry, guys. Can we please?
Oh, sorry.
I told my kids 2 inches up down.
Sorry. Okay. Dante, can you get in?
Don't do what Trump did and just get it in front of everybody.
Where'd Becky go? Becky, where am I going? Go to the side.
Come over this way.
I don't know where to put my hands.